Hello and welcome back to another devlog. This time I'd like to spend some time improving my game's user interface. Designing a good UI can really make a game more fun to play. Just look at Persona 5. Such a unique style, but unfortunately not what I'm going for. We'll be going for a more traditional approach, where a part of the screen is blocked off and purely reserved for buttons. There is already a temporary UI for my game, but it just looks ugly. These buttons don't fit well with the other art assets and just look out of place, especially this one. There are currently a number of problems in this UI, which we'll hopefully be able to fix when I redraw it. First, I'm using the same template for all of the button backgrounds, which just makes it look so stale. Also, just look at this placeholder asset. It doesn't fit well with this icon, which also doesn't fit well with these icons. The level select screen also uses a bunch of the same sprite. The background looks the same as the buttons. This one's just a plain color, and this one has sharp edges and round edges. There's too many types for one set of UI. And the worst problem of all, the 3 is wrong. Well, first, we'll be redrawing everything, so that should fix some of these issues. I'll make sure that these new assets work well with each other and stop being an eyesore. But we'll also be drawing some completely new icons, just to get rid of that pesky placeholder image. All of my sprites have been drawn in the app Procreate, which has been super helpful, compared to my previous art app which, Anyways, in Procreate, I keep all of my art for this game in a neat and tidy folder, without the neat and tidy part. I just wish Procreate supported nested folders, but things can't always be perfect. Right, so the most difficult decision, what size should the canvas be? I ended up choosing a 4096 by 4096 pixel canvas, just so that I could make sure that we could draw all of the sprites in one big file. Before starting with the drawing, we'll need to make some brushes. Procreate has a bunch of pre-made brushes for things like grass and flowers, but we won't be using any of that for the icons. The only brushes we'll need are an outliner brush, which should only have one size to choose from since outlines should be the same thickness. And we'll also need a coloring brush, which can change sizes to make coloring easier, as well as decrease stabilization to make coloring the corners easier. Lastly, we'll need a pencil type of brush for drafting out the icons. I don't know why, but looking at pencil drafts helps me think better than looking at normal drafts. So in Procreate, we just click on the Add Brush icon, change this property, and voila! It's time to draft some icons. We'll be making 2 different types of long buttons, one wood and one stone. Why? Well, the main menu button should be special, so it will be made out of stone. All the other buttons will be made out of wood. We'll also need a square wood button for the buttons on the level select screen, and also a new info and checklist icon. Looking back at the main menu, we can see that there is a settings icon as well as a currency icon that looks like it needs redrawing. And in this scene, you will see a drop-down icon as well as a cross icon that needs a makeover. With that in mind, I got started with drafting and drawing. I made a quick pencil outline of what I wanted to be drawn, so in this case, a bunch of planks with jagged edges. Then, we'll use the outliner to trace over the needed parts of the draft. When that's done, we'll use the coloring brush to shade in the lower parts a darker color for shadows, and the higher parts a light color for lighting. We'll repeat this process for each of the other symbols, but you can already see I may have cheated a little bit and used an online image for the stone button, but I made sure to change it up. After a little less than an hour, here are all the other icons. You'll notice that they aren't the same size though. Clearly the settings icon is much bigger than the energy icon, which has apparently fallen over. The size difference won't matter though, since I have a trick up my sleeve. All we need to do is select the layer that the icon is on, then copy and paste it into a new 2048 by 2048 pixel file. We'll press this handy Fit to Canvas button and boom, it's scaled up. However, if you have keen eyes, you'll see that the quality hasn't scaled up along with the artwork. So, to combat this, we'll do a quick redraw of each icon, which shouldn't take too long. Now that that's done, all we need to do is select everything, click export, and all the icons are now on my computer. We'll replace the old icons with these new and improved ones, and the start screen is looking a bit weird. The stone button definitely looks like it's been scaled up. The outlining is so wide. We'll go through the other scenes and hope it'll be better. No. Clearly something went wrong. It turns out there's a very simple reason as to why the sprites are behaving like this. All of the sprites now are made in a 2048 by 2048 pixel canvas, which helps in quality as the image has more pixels in the small area than the amount of pixels on my computer. But it also means that when the width and height of the image is not equal to 2048, then the sprite will be scaled up or down, which changes the outline size. To fix this issue, we're going to have to create sprites at their needed width and height. So if there are two instances of the same sprite, but each instance has a different size, then we'll need to draw the sprite twice. But before we start measuring the sprite size, we'll need to change something about our canvases. Can you spot the issue? My screen is not 800 by 600 pixels. We'll need to switch these back to HD resolution before taking measurements. But here's the issue. I made the UI using the 800 by 600 pixel reference, which means if I change it, well, the UI shrinks and that's no good. After some more thinking, I realized that since 1920 by 1080 pixels is my screen resolution, the scale factor of the canvas will be 1. So all we need to do is scale up the UI by the scale factor of the old canvas to make the UI work for the new resolution. Finally, I've changed all of the canvas's reference resolutions. Now it's time to measure. I've noted down all the measurements in this Google document and now it's time to redraw again. So I made a new 4096 by 4096 canvas, but the icons are smaller now, so what will the extra space be used for? Well, we're going to be drawing some new icons I missed in my first go, as well as finally redesigning this piece of UI. We'll copy and paste some of the sprites, make them the correct sizes, and draw the new icons as well. Some of the icons are tiny, so when they're being drawn, they needed to be scaled up by a factor of 2 in order for the shading and outlining to work. I did mess up for the settings icon though, where I somehow made it 2 times as small instead of as big. Oops. You might wonder what this sprite is for. Well, you'll see that in Unity that the description panel is also in need of a sprite, so this wooden box will serve that purpose. But it will also be used for the level conditions page. So how can one sprite be used for 2 different elements of different sizes? To answer that question, Unity has a 9 slicing feature for sprites. This makes it possible to create a very dynamic text box using only one sprite. Let's have a look at the final results.